Hey class, before I begin my speech, I'm going to start with a quote and then ask you guys a question. I'm sure we've all heard the quote, "An apple a day keeps the doctor away." But if you think about it, it really pertains to the stuff we put in our body and how that will affect us in the long run. Have you ever been asked to make a side dish for a family event, but you didn't know what to make? Well, I have. Then I remember this quick and easy recipe for roasted cauliflower that'll have your friends and family asking for more. I learned how to make this recipe when I worked at a seafood restaurant for 2 years as a prep cook, and I was responsible for roasting vegetables on a day-to-day basis. And I remember after I'd roast them, I'd put them on the tray on the cooling rack, and my coworkers would constantly be coming over trying to snack on them because they're just that good. Now I'm going to show you how to cut it properly, how to season it, and then we're going to roast it at 350. So to do this, we got a couple of household ingredients. We got some minced garlic, some black pepper, sea salt, Italian seasoning that I bought for $1 at ShopRite, and some olive oil. We also have a knife, a cutting board, a sheet tray with some wax paper, and a bowl and tongs to mix everything up. So to begin, you want to rip off some of the leaves from the outer. It just makes it a little bit easier to cut it moving forward. So you just rip some of these off. Here here's the head. And this costs about $3, by the way. It's very affordable. To start, you want to cut the thing directly in half. And then you cut this in half again. Them in half. And this is good knife skills, which also helps with your motor functions. It's just like an added benefit when you're doing this type of stuff. Then you want to stand it up and slowly go along the edge so you cut off the inner part. Because this is really firm and it's not recommended that you eat it. It just doesn't absorb the flavor like the cauliflower head does. So now I'm going to introduce my mother, and she's going to do a little bit of this. Alright, Ma, so now you break them up, break the florets up, and you want to cut it into bite-sized pieces. Nice, quick, easy. I'm sure everybody knows how to handle a knife properly. You want to keep the blade away from your hand and go nice and slow so you don't make any mistakes. Once you cut it up, you put it in the bowl. And an article I read from the CDC from 2019 called Powerhouse Fruits and Vegetables put cauliflower at the top of the list because it's very nutrient dense, and it also prevents against chronic disease, which is helpful for taking care of your body. Keep going with that, nice and easy. Delicious. And this is something that I would do all the time. So as you get going with it and you do it over and over again, you're going to get a little bit better at it. When I was younger, I didn't really like vegetables, especially Brussels sprouts. But after I worked at the restaurant and learned how to properly cook them, it became something that I would eat on a week-to-week basis, even when I was at college, because they're actually fairly cheap. So now I'm going to have my mom come back in, and I'm going to show you how to season this properly. So first, you're going to start by putting some black pepper on. And you don't want to do too much, just enough to coat it, give it some color. Next, we're going to do some salt. And with the salt, always more is less, and this is something you can play with as you make it each time. Now we're going to use the essential Italian seasoning, which is a mix of basil, thyme, oregano, just some simple stuff. And this, also more is less because it also has a really strong flavor, and cauliflower tends to take on the flavor of whatever you put on it. So now we're going to use some of the Spice World minced garlic. The oil in it coats it and lets it cake a little bit to the cauliflower and just gives it a really great flavor. And last, we're going to drizzle olive oil. When you do this, you got to be careful that you don't use too much, because then it makes it kind of oily and sticky and may ruin it a little bit toward the final product. Now you're just going to lightly toss it, mix it all up. And if it's not sticking well, then you can always add a little bit more oil. That's why I said don't go heavy on it in the beginning. There we go. The oil on there. And an article I read from 2014 on the Food Network by Sarah Khalib called "I Ate Cauliflower Every Day for a Week, and This Is What Happened." Kind of talks about how it's really great for dieting because it's filling and it's also low in calorie if you don't use too much oil, which is great. Then we mix it up. Make sure the seasoning's coated on there well. And now we're going to lay it on the sheet tray. Spread it all out nice and evenly. Nice. And then lastly, we're going to put it in the oven at 350 for about a half hour. And you want to come back after 10 or 15 minutes and kind of rotate it so it cooks evenly. Alright, so it's been about 15 minutes and we're just going to check up on it real quick. So you're starting to get that color now, and you just want to gently move it around, get it turning so both sides cook good. Coming out great. And you can also cook this on parchment paper, tin foil, or just straight on the sheet tray. It's up to you. And the great thing about the cauliflower is you can do it with a lot of different seasonings. You can do buffalo, barbecue, just normal salt and pepper. It comes out great either way. Now we're going to put it back in, give it another 10 minutes or so, and then we'll almost be done. Now it's been about 35 minutes. We're ready to pull out the final product from the oven. Here we go. Got that nice crisp outside, that golden color I was talking about. Glad you guys got to join me today. And in a 2016 article by Ahad Connor of the New York Times called The Ascension of Cauliflower, it kind of talks about the variable uses of cauliflower from a substitute to carbs to like rice. And it's also good for people that are gluten-free, and it can be made even into things like pizza crust. So I hope you guys learned something today. Thanks for cooking with me. I'll see you next time.